All right, everyone, welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers through StriveScan. Thank you again for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen to type your answers, type your questions for the presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so your panelists cannot hear or see you. And this is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and available within about a week. So about a week from now on that same website, CACRAO.org. I'll turn it over to Claire Ruth, your presenters.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. We're going to share our screen. Perfect. Can we get a thumbs up if everybody can see this on their end? Perfect. All right. So like Amanda said, just wanted to welcome you guys to our presentation. We are Spartanburg Methodist College. We're located in Spartanburg, South Carolina. You're going to get a little bit of overview of everything we have to offer, from a welcome from our president, Scott Cochran, so a little bit of exposure to the admissions process, as well as the financial aid process from both of our directors. And then a student ambassador, her name is Jarena, and she will be answering some questions to provide you a little bit of insight into what it looks like to be a student at SMC. So that's what we're going to do. Like I said, my name is Claire Ruth West. I work in the admissions office. And you'll hear from Kyle Wade, our financial aid counselor, our financial aid director, Julie Lanford, our admissions director, Scott Cochran, the president of SMC, and then Jarena Byers, a student here at SMC. So at this moment, I'm going to pass it over to Scott Cochran, our president, and you're going to hear a little bit from him.
Thank you, Claire Ruth. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Scott, and I am the president of Spartanburg Methodist College. I'm glad you're here, and I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes giving you my perspective on a couple of things about SMC and college in general. SMC is a phenomenal place. If you've never visited, we're on about 110 acres of beautiful campus, beautiful trees, grass, activities that can go on a regular basis. The COVID puts a little bit damper on things, but we're going to get through this. We've got 28 buildings, 7 residence halls, athletic facilities, and a faculty and staff dedicated to helping you be successful. So what does that mean, be successful? You come to college to further your education and to get prepared for life after college. And one of the things that we do at SMC that I believe we do as well or better than anyone is we do get you ready for that next stage. We have a tremendous amount of focus on professional development. How do you get ready for the job or the career that you choose once you leave SMC? We've got a completely focused curriculum and program that gets you pointed in the right direction, handled by people who are dedicated to making sure that you can become the best version of yourself that you can be. I'll tell you the other thing that I like about SMC and that I appreciate as the president is the size. We're small enough to get to know each other, but big enough to have opportunities. We've grown significantly over the last 4 years. And our student body has increased. We used to be a 2-year college. We're a bachelor degree, 4-year college at this point. We have a number of different disciplines that you can study. And the preparation, again, for life after college is second to none. I hope to see you on campus at some point. I'd love to give you a tour myself. I'd love to walk you around, and perhaps in the future, once we get past the COVID situation that we're in, I can do just that. I love engaging with our students and our faculty and staff and to find out what is it that you need in order to help you be successful. You've got a great team here tonight that's going to help you get through some questions that you may have and explain the process of going through the admissions and the financial aid process at SMC. And I'm extremely excited to be part of it. If you have any questions down the road, I'm easy to find. I'm on the website. People email me and call me all the time, and I'd love to get to know you. So from me to you, welcome to SMC and to this evening. I hope you get a lot out of it, and I hope you ask a lot of questions. With that, Julie, I'm going to turn it over to you. And Julie is our Executive Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services. So Julie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. Again, welcome. Thank you guys so much for taking your Monday evening to spend with us. We are super thankful you decided to do that. Like Scott said, we were traditionally a 2-year institution. We are now 4 years. This is our first year with freshmen through seniors in our student body. So we are pumped about that. This is also our fourth consecutive year of record enrollment. So we are even more excited about that as well. So lots of big things happening here. With that being said, I am going to briefly go over the admissions process with you guys. So some exciting things going on with that also. We are now a Common App school, and you can actually apply through Common App with us, or you can apply through our website. So whichever suits you better is perfectly fine. We are also letting students apply for free this year, so no application fee whatsoever. So that'll save you a little bit of money. And we are also test optional this year as well. So what's unique about us is when we say test optional, we mean you are not required to submit your test scores at any point in time throughout the enrollment process. At some schools, you do have to submit them for financial aid or different purposes, but with us, we are completely test optional. You never have to submit them throughout the entire process. So we are looking for an application. We're looking for your high school transcript, so get that over to us. We can accept unofficial transcripts to begin with, and then before you actually enroll, we'll need an official final transcript to be sent from your high school. But we can go ahead and accept that unofficial to get the admissions process started for you. And like I mentioned, we are test optional, so no test scores are required. So once we get that application and transcript, we can go ahead and review those. We can go ahead and review those pieces of information, and then we release decisions twice a week. So we are on rolling admissions, so you can get a decision from us. If you submit everything on a Wednesday, there's a chance you could get your decision that Thursday. So very quick turnaround as far as that goes. If you are interested in possibly beginning the application process with us, we do have 2 application nights coming up where we are going to be available from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. On October 1st, which is this Thursday, and October 15th, which is coming up 2 Thursdays from now. So if you have any questions or just want us to sit down and walk you through that process, we can definitely do that. And you can register to attend one of those nights. They are virtual. I don't think I mentioned that. They're virtual application nights, but you can register to attend one of those nights with us through our website. So definitely keep that in mind. We are available at any point in time though, so if you have any questions and you want to go ahead and start that process and not wait on one of those Thursdays, please feel free to do that as well. That is a brief overview of the admissions process here. You'll see on the screen, I've listed the associate degrees that we offer, as well as our bachelor's degree that includes 2 concentrations that you choose from. So like Scott mentioned, we were 2-year and now have moved into the bachelor's degree and 4-year realm. So those are up there for you guys to check out. But after admissions, obviously a big focus is financial aid. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Financial Aid, Kyle Wade.
Thanks, Julie. So some of this information on this slide here is going to be redundant. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail with it. The first thing to make sure you do is fill out your FAFSA. FAFSA is available starting October 1st for next year, so you can go ahead and get an early start on that. So definitely fill that out as soon as possible. The deadline, so to speak, is June 30th. You can still submit the FAFSA after June 30th. However, if you submit it late, then there's a chance that you won't qualify for all the different state aid options, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. So fill it out as soon as possible. Your FAFSA is your application for the Pell Grant, Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, Work Study, direct loans, as well as your state aid, SMC aid, and so on. Even some external private scholarships require that you have a FAFSA on file to receive their aid. So make sure that when you do the FAFSA, like I said, do it early, because some of the funding, for example, like the SEOG, that Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, and Work Study, those are limited funds that we have in those. And we try to award those funds first come, first serve. So the sooner you fill out your FAFSA, the more likely you are to get those types of aid. In order to fill out your FAFSA, you have to have an FSA ID. That is one ID for the student and one ID for the parent, and you'll use that ID forever. So if you're a parent and you have 4 kids and all 4 of them are going to go to school, you're going to use that same FSA ID for all 4 of your kids. Students, when you set up your ID, one day when you have kids, if they're still using an FSA ID years from now, you're going to use that same ID for that. So make sure that you connect your email and your phone to that ID, so that way if you forget it, you can easily recover it, just in case. Looking at the different types of state aid that SMC offers, we have the Life Scholarship, Lottery Tuition Assistance, and South Carolina Tuition Grant. Some schools have different types of state aid because there are several different types of aid in South Carolina, but these are the 3 that we have here at SMC. So your Life Scholarship, to get that, you had to have at least a 3.0 out of high school. The current amount of that is $5,000, and it is a merit-based scholarship. The Lottery Tuition Assistance Program, you can't receive it at the same time as Life. It actually has different GPA requirements. So if you have between a 2.0 and a 2.99, you can get the Lottery Tuition Assistance scholarship on your account. And that is also, it's just based on merit alone. There's no need aspect to that. And then the South Carolina Tuition Grant, the minimum GPA for that is a 2.7 out of high school. And the amount for this year is currently $3,600, and it's actually need-based. And so this is one of those that you have to have that FAFSA on file for, and this is the one that actually has that June 30th deadline to submit it. So those are the 3 different types of state aid we offer, and now I want to kind of jump into what makes us a little different than a lot of other schools that you've seen in terms of financial aid. Okay, so one thing that SMC has that's different than a lot of other schools is we have a full tuition scholarship package. And what that means is we take the different types of state aid that we mentioned before, as well as any type of federal Pell Grant, SEOG, any free money, so to speak. We take that and combine it and then make up the difference in your tuition and that aid in SMC funds. So what we do is you have to be eligible for the Life Scholarship. You have to be a South Carolina resident. You have to have that 3.0. You have to submit the FAFSA by the June 30th date. And you have to submit your SMC application completely. So you can't just have a partial application. We need everything to make a decision on your admission status. So once we have all of that, we can evaluate whether or not you're eligible for the full tuition scholarship package. And one thing to kind of mention is tuition is not everything. So a lot of students think that when they go to college, that tuition is what the whole bill is, and that's not necessarily the case. So you've got tuition, fees, room and board, so everything's kind of separate. What we do is we say we're going to cover the tuition, but you're going to cover fees on your own. But with the different types of aid that we have available here, there is a potential that you might even have enough to cover those fees. So to give you kind of an idea of an average bill, if you're going to be a residential student, you're going to look at paying about $11,000 total for your first year. And that is for your room and board and your mandatory fees. If you're living off campus, you're only going to pay those fees. And so you're looking at about $2,000. And so that's all I have in terms of financial aid. And so now we will go over to Jarena.
And before I turn it over to, before me and Jarena move into the student Q&A, I want to go back to something that Kyle mentioned specifically in his previous slide. If I can get it to go, let's go to the back way. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Okay, so on this slide, he talked about the FAFSA. Hopefully at this point in your college exploration process, everyone is familiar with the FAFSA. And the reason why I want to mention is because I think it's super important, because a lot of us have a misunderstanding of exactly what the FAFSA does and why we're filling it out. First and foremost, do you have to fill out a FAFSA? No. No one's going to tell you that you absolutely have to fill out the FAFSA. However, would everyone encourage you to fill out the FAFSA? Yes. The worst thing that's going to happen on the FAFSA is that someone's going to say, sorry, you don't qualify for this much aid. However, if you would like to take out a student loan, it's going to be there. Student loans are optional, so you do not have to take those, but consider those an investment in your educational future. The second thing is, do not be afraid to give your information to the FAFSA. It's run by the federal government. It's completely private. So none of the information that you are providing is going to go anywhere else than with the FSA. And that is what they use to determine your financial aid award package or your letter or offer or whatever the institution you're interested in calls it. We call it your financial aid offer. Those come via email, so you always want to keep an eye out on that. But all of these institutions, when you give us access to it, that's what they use to determine what you're eligible for. And then the last thing I'll say is a lot of people say, I didn't qualify for anything, or my sister who went to school 3 years ago didn't qualify for anything, so I'm not going to fill it out. The good news is, as Kyle mentioned, the FAFSA is based off of 2 years prior. So every year, it's a different year that it's used to base off of. So for this coming fall is 2021. That's when you guys will start college in next fall. And so since it's 2021, we'll be looking at the 2019 tax returns. So just keep in mind that always changes. And so just because your family wasn't qualified for something 2 years ago when your sister went to college, they might do it now. And then also, there is a little bit more offered to you when they have 2 kids in college, if you and your sister are still in college together. So just keep in mind that there is information about that. But if you have any specific questions about the FAFSA, you're always welcome to reach out to Kyle or any of our other financial aid counselors, or even your enrollment counselor, your admissions counselor. We're pretty versed in what that looks like, and we can answer all the questions. We want to make sure you understand that and everything makes sense for your concern. All right, this time I'm going to pop it over to me and Jarena. So before we get rolling, I'm going to let Jarena introduce herself and give you a little bit more information about who she is, and then we'll get started with our first question.
So hi guys, my name is Jarena Byers. I'm from Due West, South Carolina. I went to Dixie High School, graduated in 2019. I just recently moved to Belton, South Carolina. I'm a sophomore here. I play volleyball, and my major is science.
Awesome. Okay. Jarena, so my first question for you tonight is, what did your college exploration process look like? How did you make that decision, and what did you do in order to prepare for that decision?
So I would say about 8th grade, 9th grade, I knew exactly that I want to play volleyball in college. So I had to do my research first. I had to figure out a school that had both my major and both had the program that I want to play for. So when I was doing the recruiting process and everything, I started going to colleges in 10th grade. I went to Winthrop, SMC, Southern Wesleyan, and when I was deciding between SMC and Southern Wesleyan, it was just more of a home fit. I had to talk to the coach. My tour guide was amazing. Claire Ruth was amazing. We talk about that day all the time that we met when I was 17 years old, and now it's just crazy. So yeah.
Awesome. Did you have anyone that you specifically spoke with at school, whether it be a school counselor or someone that you that kind of encouraged you along in your college exploration process?
Yes, so my counselor, she was great when I was in high school. She really asked me a lot of questions about schools, and she was very helpful into where I wanted to go and make sure I was on the right track of going to tours and make sure I was getting my grades right and everything.
Perfect. The second question, this you might have answered a little bit of this in your first, but how did you know that SMC was the place for you? Other than that campus visit experience, what helped you make that final decision?
So what's crazy is that actually I didn't even think that I would be at SMC. But my dad played baseball here, and he was like, well, have you checked out SMC? And I was like, where's that at? And so I Googled it, did my research, and I was like, well, that seems like a good school. Like I said, the tour guide was amazing. But I think what really it showed that SMC is a home fit. I went to a small school, graduated with 90 students, so everybody knew everybody. That's what SMC was. I love the atmosphere. The coach is great. The professors are great. It was really just, everybody was very welcoming, and that was important to me.
Good. I love it. So my next question is, now that you've been at SMC for a year, are you happy with that decision?
I'm so happy to be here. It's been great.
Perfect. So with that, how have you been able to make SMC your home? What are things that you're involved in or things that you get to participate in that make SMC feel like home to you?
Right. So I'm very involved at SMC. As I said, I play volleyball here, so that's a big involvement. I'm also a PA, and Claire Ruth is my leader. She's great. So that just means I just give tours on campus, and that was really important that I get to do that. And then I'm also like a part of like the missions and financial aid. I work here with Clara Ruth, Julie, and Kyle. They're great. So it's just really being a part of the family here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you as part of our team, that's for sure. So my next question is, what is your favorite part of campus? Let's talk about pre-COVID, and we can talk a little bit about post-COVID. What does that look like for you? But what is your favorite part of campus that you're able to take part in?
Right. So she said we used to like hang out in the cab all the time and just be hanging out, having a good time. And I do live on campus. All my roommates are volleyball players, so that's nice that we get to hang out outside of volleyball as well. And really just being around in the student center. Really, people play outside. You can just always see somebody outside doing things. So that was really fun.
Perfect. And then talk a little bit about what your experience has been like since you've returned to campus post-COVID in terms of your schedule. What does that look like in terms of your classes, and how have you adjusted well to that change?
Right. So SMC is like on a hybrid model. So like all my classes are really on Monday and Tuesday. So there is no Friday classes, which is wonderful. So like Monday and Wednesday, I go Monday, and Tuesday and Thursday classes, I go Tuesday. So pretty much all my classes are in the beginning of the week, which is nice because I like to get things done early. I hate to be a slacker. So I go to those classes, and then Wednesday, Thursday is really my time to really be online, watching videos, doing homework if I need to do that. And then Friday, of course, even though it's no class, that doesn't mean that you don't do anything. It's a time to really work online, but I try to do things in the beginning.
Perfect. I love it. And that's awesome. I think that even though it's a more like a non-traditional schedule, you still were able to get the same experience. You're in class some of the part of the week. You're having that exposure with your professors, and you're able to stay on top of all your work. So we're proud of you that way. So the next question is, obviously you said what you're studying at SMC, but tell me a little bit more about you're studying biology at SMC. Tell me a little bit more about your ultimate career goal and where you see yourself after SMC.
So I'm going back and forth right now with physical therapy and sports medicine. So with that being said, before COVID, I was set to go to Southern Wesleyan after SMC, but that may be changed, not really sure yet. But I was thinking about going to the exercise science program somewhere. So just taking more classes there. And if I do major in physical therapy, I'd like to go to PT school in Charleston.
Perfect. And then you said your ultimate career goal was for PT. So do you feel like your experience at SMC has prepared you for that, and you're getting ready for that transfer process into another four-year institution?
Yes, so I've taken a lot of science classes. Right now I'm in Human Anatomy Physiology 2. It's hard, but it's good. I'm learning a lot, actually, so it's very helpful that I'm not just taking classes that I'm not going to use. So, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, so my next question for you is thinking back on your almost year and a half here at SMC, what has SMC taught you as a student, as a volleyball player, as a young adult? What have you learned, and what is the takeaway that you will leave with when you move on to your next step?
Yes, so SMC has taught me to be very independent, to do things on my own. Really, it's taught me to be a better me. I know that sounds cliche, but it has. And it's taught me to work well with others, to be on top of things, and to really just be who I am.
Perfect. What will you miss most about SMC when you start that transfer process in the spring and then eventually leave us next fall?
Yes, so I'm definitely going to miss my coach. So definitely going to miss my coach, of course, and my teammates, and really the people, the professors, President Cochran, of course, and but really the janitors. They're really nice ladies and gentlemen. They are very welcoming, and they always have a bright smile on their face. So I would definitely miss that.
Awesome. All right, we've got 2 more questions. So what do you wish you knew then that you know now as a college sophomore, looking back on your experience of going through the admissions and the enrollment process? What do you wish you knew then that you know now, and how you understand about that process?
Yes, so first, I know you guys are seniors, so senioritis is a thing. That was tough on me. Like my first semester of senior year, I went to school late, left early, so that was crazy. But really, just to stay on top of things, get things done. I know this is not going to sound good, but when your parents tell you to get things done, get them done. They're not just yelling at you. But I would say, like, most importantly, SMC, we do like a fail to absent. So like if you don't go to class, and if you have an A, you are eligible to, like, they can fail you. So just going to class, being on top of things, having a schedule. Every Sunday night, I sit down and I do my schedule for the week, what I have to do for every day. With me being an athlete, working, I have a lot going on. So I have to make sure that I manage my time well.
Perfect. All right. And then my last question is, like you mentioned, we're speaking to rising or graduating seniors, so rising college freshmen. What advice do you have to these graduating seniors as they take their next steps and prepare for their college experience?
Yes, so my senior year flew by so fast. I wish I could go back. I know this is a tough time for you guys with COVID, and I'm not sure if any of you guys play sports, but really just soak it all in because it's crazy. I'm in my sophomore year, and like we have midterms coming up and a soon final, so like my time's flying by here, and I'm gonna be a junior this time next year. It's just crazy that time flies. So really just soak it all in and take the time to enjoy your senior year because it flies by.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Trina. I appreciate your input. And then if there's anything else as we're going along, if you think of anything else you want to add, just stop me and you can throw that in. So, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We're going to move into our next slide, and this, we're going to call this your SMC Next Steps and your timeline. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about specifically your SMC Next Steps. We've narrowed it down to 5, so you can count them all in one hand. And then we'll talk about your timeline for what it looks like in terms of now in almost October and what you should do between now and next August. So step number 1, we'd love for you to apply and send over all of your transcripts. It is free to apply, so you do not have to spend any money. Note that some schools have application fee waivers and some schools do not. However, we are completely free, so you don't have to worry about that. And send over all your transcripts. We need a transcript from your high school. We would prefer it, we do prefer that it's sent directly from either your school counselor or from an online service like Parchment. Ask your school counselor if you're not quite sure how to send that transcript over. They can mail those to us through snail mail. We prefer to get that digitally. And then we will put all of our email addresses at the end of this presentation. So if you'd like to email it to me directly, you're welcome to do that as well. If you have taken any dual enrollment courses, we will need a copy of those dual enrollment transcripts. So if you are from Columbia and you've taken some dual enrollment courses through Midlands Tech, we will need that transcript from Midlands Tech. However, you do not have to send those over immediately. If you're currently enrolled in those courses, hang tight, do not send that over. If you plan to take classes through Midlands next semester, you're more than welcome to wait until next summer, until all your grades are posted, and just send that transcript once. We will see those classes on your high school transcript and understand that you are taking those through a local college. However, in order to receive credit for those courses at SMC, you have to send over an official transcript. We cannot give you credit for those just because they're listed on your high school transcript. But you can apply and you can be accepted without your dual enrollment transcript. So have no fear in that. Step number 2 is to complete your FAFSA. So in 3 days, the FAFSA will open October the 1st. You do not have to complete the FAFSA on October the 1st, but maybe October the 2nd. Get it done as soon as possible because, like Kyle mentioned, there are some scholarships that are time sensitive. So the sooner you do those, the sooner, the higher chance or higher probability you have of receiving certain funding. So make sure that you get that taken care of as soon as possible. Encourage your parents to prepare. Sit down and say, hey, Saturday night, we're going to sit down and do the FAFSA together, get it done. And I promise you, you will appreciate and you'll be so glad that it's finished beforehand because that's one less thing you have to worry about. On your on your FAFSA, be sure to indicate that you'd like it to be sent to Spartanburg Methodist. And as soon as you've submitted it, you'll get a confirmation email that it's been submitted, and then we will receive it. It takes about 48 to 72 hours, so don't stress if we haven't gotten it. Don't stress if it takes a little bit longer because it might be over the weekend, but we will receive your FAFSA. And then our financial aid department will be in touch with you if there's any information that is incorrect or any information that we need from you. And you'll also get information from the FSA if there's anything like verification or stuff like that. But don't worry about that until you've received that information. Hopefully you'll be able to complete that correctly and everything will be good. But don't worry if you do make a mistake, we're here to assist, so no stress there. Step number 3 is await your acceptance and then pay your enrollment deposit. So as Julie mentioned earlier, we do release decisions twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you apply on a Monday and get your transcripts sent over, we can have an acceptance letter out to you by Tuesday. When you get that acceptance, then your next step is to reply to your offer of admission saying, yes, I am coming, and then pay your enrollment deposit. We have one enrollment deposit amount for commuting students, meaning they're going to live at home and commute back and forth or live off campus. And then we have another for our residential students. That enrollment deposit is like an advanced deposit. It will go toward your first semester bill, so you'll see that. And then you will not have to pay anything additional after that, for like a housing deposit or anything like that. Some schools do have a separate enrollment deposit and a housing deposit. We do not. You have to pay one of those, and then once you pay your housing deposit, or once you pay your enrollment deposit, then you can do things like apply for housing and other tasks. Step number 4, your PAC advisor, we call that the Pioneer Advising Center. Your PAC advisor will reach out to you to schedule your classes. That will happen closer to the spring when we have a chance for all of our returning students to register for those courses. Then you'll hear from them probably next April, or March or April. So I think around spring break, you'll start getting your schedules for the fall. And then step number 5, take your email for your next steps. So like I mentioned, once you pay your enrollment deposit, then you'll be able to apply for housing, get more information about your financial aid and accept any loans and scholarships and grants that you've been offered. You can also communicate with our business office about setting up a payment plan, and you'll also get information about orientation and what we call Pioneer Power Up, which is your welcome week experience for all of our first year students. So just be aware that these are what your next steps are. All this information can be found on our website, so don't stress, you have to write it all down, or you're welcome to just snap a picture of this slide. But that's generally what happens. You apply and send over your transcript, you complete your FAFSA, you get accepted, pay your deposit, and then at the same time, this is a simultaneous experience. You're scheduled for classes and you can sign up for your housing, etc. If you're not living on campus, we do encourage you to pay that deposit though, because the sooner you pay that deposit, the higher on the list you'll be to register for your classes. And then we're going to move over to just a general timeline for the college experience. So this semester, complete your application and the FAFSA, visit your campuses, and retake the SAT or the ACT. Currently, all those tests are scheduled to be held, so fingers crossed you'll be able to take them this semester. So if you do plan to take one of those tests, you can get it taken care of. Know that we are test optional though, so you are not required to submit those test scores. That is only if you would like to. For the spring, so after Christmas, we'll get the ball rolling. Continue to make visits to your campuses, narrow down your decisions. If you know that you're between 3 schools, go visit them again. See what experience you get the second time around, and then make your decision. I would encourage you to make your decision early so you can go ahead and start preparing and doing things you need to do to get ready for the fall semester, and then pay your enrollment deposit. For most people, your enrollment deposit, for most schools, your enrollment deposit is not refundable. So know that you're making the right decision, but typically that enrollment deposit does go toward a balance that you owe, so you're not just throwing money away. But definitely make that decision sooner rather than later so you can go ahead and start making preparations and your schools know that you plan to attend. And then in the summertime, get ready for things like orientation, move-in, and Pioneer Power Up. For us, like I said, that's our welcome week experience. And so it's crazy to think that within less than a year, you guys will be potentially first-year students with us here at SMC. So at this time, I'm going to move into any Q&A. So if you have any specific questions and you're interested in asking us, feel free to put those in the chat at this time, and we'll get those answered for you. We've got about 5 minutes for you to answer questions. If there's anything specifically that we can answer for you, feel free to put that in there. Anything about the admissions process, the enrollment, financial aid, if you'd like to ask a question specifically to Jarena as a student here at SMC, we are more than willing to answer those for you. So feel free to put those in there and we'll answer away. We'll hang tight for just another minute. So if you think of anything else you'd like to ask, feel free to put that in the chat and we're happy to assist.
And I would like to mention one more thing. Similar to how admissions is going to be having their virtual application nights, we are more than willing anytime to help you fill out your FAFSA as well. So if you do want to set up an appointment to do that, I know that there's several college goal type events happening. And so if you want to go to one of those, you can. We're going to try to have representation at some of those events. But also if you would just like to have a one-on-one sit down and do it, it doesn't take too long as you have everything ready in advance. So do feel free anytime, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you complete your FAFSA as well.
And like Kyle mentioned, we do have opportunities for what we call enrollment meetings. You can register for those on our website. They happen Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. or 4 p.m. Those are virtual meetings, and so you don't have to leave your home. You can sit on your couch while you're doing your virtual virtual homework. You can absolutely tune in and we can assist you with that. Or if you prefer to do one in the evening when your parents are available, they can attend with you. And then if either one of those times do not work with your schedule, we can always schedule something on your own time so that everyone can be there. And then in addition to the enrollment meetings, we are opening, our campus, excuse me, I can't speak today. Our campus is open for personal visits. If you'd like to register for a campus tour, you can go straight to our website. Under the admissions tab, you'll see an option that says visit virtually. And then in that first paragraph, it says request a campus tour. You can fill that out and someone for our admissions office will reach out to you to schedule a campus visit, and we'd love to show you around. All right, I will turn it over to Julie and let her wrap up our session. But as she's speaking, if there's anything else you're thinking of, feel free to put those in the chat and we can answer them before we log off.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire Ruth. Just to reiterate how thankful we are that you guys chose to join us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the presentation and you learned a little bit more about SMC. But like Clary said, I wanted to kind of follow up on the visit options that we currently have for students. So if you are interested in coming to campus, you can do that. We have tours Monday through Friday. So feel free to come check us out and see campus in person, or you can meet us virtually through one of our online enrollment meetings with admissions, financial aid, or both of us. And we would love to chat with you guys about everything that SMC has to offer and what we can do for you guys in the future. Again, thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of your night.